Well, might as well get started. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Bloomington Chamber Town Talk. My name is Brent Pavia. I'm the president of the Bloomington Chamber, and excited to have you all here on this really important topic. As we go along, you'll see in the chat feature, there's an opportunity for you to ask questions. Feel free to do that at any point during the conversation. I always like to start this out recognizing the sponsors who make this programming possible. Our presenting sponsor, Mall of America, big supporter of Bloomington Chamber and the Town Talk series in particular. And our supporting sponsors, CenterPoint Energy, Wells Fargo, and Xcel Energy. And being the chamber guy that I am, if you're interested in sponsorship, we have opportunities for that as well, and you can contact me or my colleague Anna separately on that. Really important topic today. I'm glad you're able to connect on it. We've all been affected by the coronavirus pandemic in different ways, but perhaps no industries more dramatically and directly as those our two speakers represent in the hospitality industry, retail, and we're really fortunate to have leaders like Jill and Bonnie in our region in these industries. I have a tremendous amount of respect and admiration for them and the work that they do. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on their bios because that would eat so much up, but I will just mention Bonnie Carlson is the president and CEO of Bloomington Convention and Visitors Bureau, has been with this Bloomington CVB for over 20 years, has made incredible contributions to the state's travel industry, hospitality industry, active in a lot of organizations, including the Bloomington Chamber Board of Directors, for which we're very grateful. Jill Renslow is the Executive Vice President, Business Development and Marketing at the Mall of America. She oversees mall communications, marketing, strategic alliances, partnerships, advertising, digital media, group sales, attraction marketing. I mean, what doesn't she do? She works with new and existing tenants to create really unique experiences and drive sales and traffic. And her leadership has just been so impressive over the last 20 years at the Mall of America in so many ways, and probably not any way prepared for what we're currently experiencing. So we're going to talk a little bit and go through those. So welcome and thank you to Jill and Bonnie. And I'd like to just start out. I'll start with Bonnie and ask to give us kind of a current state of affairs, how things are going, and in your industry, and anything you want to talk about, how we've gotten to where we are right now. Bonnie?
Great. Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Brent, for having me on today. This is a topic that I normally love to talk about usually in a more positive light than we currently are in now, but it's a big topic and really important. So thank you very much for having me on. And I'm honored to be with Jill. She and I are connected in so many ways, which we'll get into a little bit later. But first I would tell everybody, if there is somebody on the phone that doesn't realize that the hospitality industry is the largest industry in Bloomington. And so it's very important to us. Our Bloomington Convention and Visitors Bureau falls about close to number 2 largest bureau in the state. And Bloomington, though, has more hotel rooms than downtown Minneapolis and downtown St. Paul. So it's a big corridor that is very popular for people to stay in. It also creates a lot of economic value for the city and, of course, for us. So there are lodging taxes, there are restaurant taxes, there's admissions and liquor taxes that customers pay. And so they're very important to us as a city. Our particular organization is funded off of a portion of the lodging tax that the customer pays. So no taxpayers or anything, it's really a user sort of tax. So that should kind of, set up the framework for you. I guess to sum up what's going on now, I was just on a call with U.S. Travel Association, which I'm also on the board. But as we look at this time period we're in, it is truly the worst time the travel industry has ever experienced. And this, there have been some challenging times with the going back to wars, the Gulf War, 9/11, financial crisis, not to mention destinations that have been, destroyed by hurricanes. So there's lots of challenges, but this is something that we have never seen. It is by far the worst of time, and there's a lot of concern. There's big companies and big numbers. They estimate it, there's a lot of numbers, but about 45% decline in travel spending. One number that they said was $505 billion loss, which really equates nationally, economically, to about 1 to 2 trillion total economic loss. So it's travel is big business, and it is also locally for us. So, I think we all woke up March 1st and it started, I know I personally traveled the whole month of February for work, and 15 days later, we found ourselves in a situation that no one could predict. Our hotel community went from some cases 85% occupancy down to the bottom of 13%. They had to have layoffs of nearly all employees. We were lucky that only 3 hotels actually closed for a period of time in Bloomington, which is less than some of our neighboring cities. But one of them, the Great Wolf Lodge, Great Wolf Resorts closed all of theirs nationally. And so now they're reopening. I think they might already be open right now. We had our Hilton on France Avenue, which decided to close down until June, and they actually extended that. So they're just reopening. And then we had a Holiday Inn Express. So by and large, that was, believe it or not, good news that we didn't have more that closed. So what we dealt with was, I personally, I should say that in our organization, we cut over half of our staff. So pretty devastating. These are, people's lives and whatnot. So we were not spared either. But what we've been dealing with since then is the cancellations of meetings, conventions, groups. Youth sports is a huge piece for Bloomington. And, we're really sit in a very good position. We are close to the airport, and of course, airport travel was affected. We have our wonderful Mall of America. That's a huge driver, huge. We have all of the meetings, conventions, we have visitors. So we deal in so many different market segments, and every single one of them took a huge hit. So my team that was left have been rearranging and, rebooking them till later in the year or next year. And as time went on, I know we personally had a huge event. It's our Bloomington Diamond Service Awards. And that was actually going to be on March 15th, and we delayed it till May 17th. Well, we canceled that again. And frankly, it isn't looking good for having it at all this year. So we were one in many that had was affected by this. So what are we doing now? So immediately along with this in March, we paused all marketing and media. We are a destination marketing organization. That's what we do. we sell Bloomington. And so we paused it all and began to work on an internal recovery campaign. When we were just about to get back into the marketing, of course, we had the George Floyd situation. And I have to say, I guess that has added, not only for Minnesota, but in cities all across America, yet another layer, another whammy, if you will, another big hit with all the rioting and such. And really, what we're seeing now since then are even some cancellations from a safety point of view. And I think I'd like to come back to that later in the conversation. But so what we're starting now is working on recovery, and what would that look like? And I think one of the challenging things for the travel industry is that 50% of the people just want to stay home. And there's a lot of fear and by the media. And I mean, this virus is a real thing, but every day, you know, you wake up and you hear all this messaging. And so it gets really challenging. So we're going to concentrate on the other 50%. You know, we don't need everybody. We just, you know, we need most people. So we kind of have been working on, we had a four-prong approach: wait, ready, set, and go. And this would be strategic consumer marketing. We have a global agency. And so this is kind of where we find ourselves. You know, how do you inspire people to come? How do you inspire them to travel? We know they want to, but how do you get over that hurdle of, you know, you can't guarantee that people won't get sick with even the flu or a cold, you know. So it's a real challenging time. Now, I'll stop there, Brent. I don't know if you want me to continue or to come back to kind of what that means. You tell me.
Yeah, we'll come back to some of those issues you touched on. I'll kind of get the overview from Jill. Jill, the last time we saw each other in person was in mid-February at the mall for our Celebrate Bloomington Gala. And I know there were some things on the horizon, but who knew that less than a month, you know, the world would change so dramatically. I know the last town talk that we had was basically the last in-person chamber program that we've had. So tell us a little bit about, you know, what's the current status at the mall, what you've been through, and what's going on now.
Yeah, good morning, everyone, and thanks, Brent. You know, a lot has changed, definitely, and we're really in the focus of recovery. We're thrilled to be open again, but a lot of changes have happened and will continue to. And you know, we're just really focusing on navigating that next normal. And a lot of people say new normal, but truly every month something changes, and so we have to adapt to that next stage. And as we look forward to third and fourth quarter, but I'll give you a little update of where we're at Mall of America, but also from a retail landscape and industry perspective. As we look at the mall, we have 75% of our retail open. We have 60% of our food, and about 43% of attractions. So in all, it's about 70% of our tenants are back open, which is a great percentage based on what we're seeing across the country. We're obviously limited from our food and our attraction categories just because of the capacity limitations. And we're not allowed to open Nickelodeon Universe yet, which is a huge factor for us. We're categorized in a large venue category for Nick Universe. So we're in there with the Valley Fair and the Convention Center, and that will be with phase 4 as the state moves forward with that. So we're patiently waiting for that effort. From a staffing perspective, we miss a lot of our team members. We had to furlough about 90% of our staff when we closed in mid-March, and that was from 900 staff to just over 100, and keeping the focus on more of our operations staff from security, facilities, housekeeping to keep the property safe and clean, and then a limited leadership staff just to keep things moving forward and looking at strategy and the future state of what Mall of America was looking like. So with that, we're thrilled. We've recently been able to bring more team members back as we've opened more retail and prepare for the opening of Nick Universe. So we're closer to about 300 as we get closer to NIC Universe, which we're thrilled about. But obviously there's still a lot of team members that are on furlough. And as we come to the expiration of the additional stimulus that our team members are getting right now from the federal government that expires at the end of the month, it's going to be more of a challenge as we look forward with a lot of those part-time team members. But as I said, from a global perspective for retail, there's really three major areas that all of us are really focused on. One is the economic impact and going into a potential global recession and what that's going to do to our customer shopping behavior. Looking at the social issues, but also the value components of shopping is going to be really become a huge play, and that gets to be a challenge as we head into a recession. Although in historic recessions, it's obviously posed and ignited a lot of change and new innovation. So we're keeping our sights set on that, as just this overall global pandemic has initiated more innovation in general for our property as well as for retail. The second bucket is the consolidation of retail. And we're seeing a lot of brands change direction, whether they're going bankrupt and closing locations, or you're seeing combination of brands looking at how they're reinventing what their omni-channel experience is going to look like, with the digital needs of what customers are looking at, as well as the brick and mortar experience that balances that out. So that's the second bucket. And I'd say the third piece is just overall the change in behaviors based on COVID. Bonnie noted as far as safety, and it's really important as we prepared to reopen our property that we had safety protocols in place to make sure that not only our team members and our tenants were safe, but also the guests as they came back and they feel good inside the property, feel comfortable. We have a large venue, so we're able to keep our guests spread out and really manage the capacities at a safe level, but really making sure that we understand and are watching how behaviors are changing. We're learning from other industries across the world as they reopened before we did, and understanding how people were changing how they were shopping. But just, it's a very slow return. Our traffic levels are about 50% on a good day of what they were against last year at this time. So we range anywhere from 40 to 60% depending on the day and what the weather's like and what retailers we have open. So there's a huge change in customer behavior. And so we're really taking a look at that and understanding how we need to change and truly resetting what we've delivered for nearly 3 decades and how we have to restart that as we look to move forward.
Sure. Well, and Jill, staying with you on that, I know that there's, so much of this that is beyond your control, but the parts that are within your control in terms of planning and contingencies, what are kind of more immediate concerns or challenges, and what are you thinking, longer term in terms of, planning given this kind of state of uncertainty?
Our number one priority has always been the safety of our guests, our tenants, and our employees, and we'll continue to look at how we can improve protocols to keep that safety our priority. And as we learn from other industries and different changes, even when you look at this mask protocol, we don't require it in the common area of the mall, but a lot of our retailers do require it. And you're seeing about 50% of our guests wearing masks and understanding the importance of that. A statewide mandate would definitely help with that effort, especially just that consistency. I know that people are really concerned about what does enforcement look like, but that's something that other states have figured out, and it naturally happens with consumers and what they need from a safety perspective. But we'll always continue to look at how we can improve that safety and what we can learn from others. We want to be able to bring more of our team members back and get more of our tenants open. It's a challenge for a lot of our tenants just to bring that part-time work back. Again, because of the stimulus, there's pros and cons with that, but it's definitely an incentive for people to stay at home and not come back to work yet. So our tenants have really struggled with getting their full employee staff back into play. But so safety for sure, getting people back, and obviously getting Nickelodeon Universe open. We talk frequently with the deed office to understand what needs to happen to get NICU open. We have an approved health and safety plan. We've worked directly with the state of Minnesota and the health department, as well as the Bloomington Health Department has been fantastic to work with and has really guided us and worked hand in hand to make sure we have everything covered. But it's just working with them to ensure that we have a safe environment for guests to come back, and for families to come enjoy again. So those would be short term. Long term, it's a lot about building that customer trust back. It's really hard as we go through the uncertainty of what tomorrow's going to look like. Our kids going to go back to school in the fall. What is our holiday season going to look like? There's a lot of uncertainty, so we have to plan for multiple scenarios, and to truly, start from scratch. And what we did last year is completely different what we're going to be doing this year and moving forward. I don't think we're going to get back to where we used to be, and I think that's a dangerous perspective to have, is to be able to get back to normal. Where we're going is going to set up for, whatever is going to be new and what we have to achieve and react to. So it's a lot of learning, a lot of listening, and looking at what tomorrow's going to look like.
Yeah, definitely. Bonnie, similarly, you, in your world, you're so matrixed with so many other organizations and industries. You mentioned airport, you mentioned safety, the hotels, the restaurants, all the things that support tourism and hospitality. What are, like I asked Jill, some more kind of immediate concerns, but as you focus, like you mentioned, on that 50%, what are some strategies to, for growth and whatever the new normal is for hospitality and tourism?
Right. Well, I think also as our hotels ramp back up, they will be dealing with similar scenarios of people, shortage of workers, or the workers are coming back. So that sort of remains to be seen. They're just now kind of getting people back to work. So certainly a challenge. From our campaigns, as I mentioned, we went on a strategy of wait, ready, set, and go. And the waiting period seems obvious, but that was an important step, because you were feeling, what is your messaging? What do you want to say? You need to be patient and so forth. Getting ready from messaging, what would resonate? One of the things we know, again, like Jill said, it's a lot of education and listening, but there is believed to be a pent-up demand for travel. And, people want to, you heard they're doing a lot of walks in nature, and the dog's tired of having everyone home, that kind of thing. So one of our messaging is kind of, we're going to focus on a big drive market, which Bloomington could be very popular. So that'll be our first layer. We are saying get out, have some fun, and then showing pictures of suggested ways to do that. So for example, we do a lot of Mall of America things. And so showing that you can have a shopping experience by going out by not, hundreds of thousands of people. And so it's strategic messaging and sort of psychological. This is what people want you to tell them, that, it's okay. And of course, that's a personal decision. We have also looked from, if you think of it as sort of the funnel, we're looking at a very national participation. I mentioned U.S. Travel Association is one organization that will also help us in marketing, and they're also doing a lot of lobbying in Congress for packaging and so forth, for helping the industry. But more importantly, their message is let's go there kind of type campaign, and then serving up things that look inviting and could be safe for people, kind of trying to influence them a little bit. And so what does that look like? It's tough, I think it will. One thing that we're seeing happening is that all the brands, the hotel brands, such as Marriott, Hilton, they're coming out advertising about how cleanliness has, taken part now, even more priority in that regard. And so some of that will help. The other thing I think you will see is the deals that are going to start coming out. And will people be motivated by good deals? Some say yes, some say no. Again, this is such uncharted territory. We just really don't know what that's going to look like. Personally, and knowing with the city, we're working sort of on a three-prong approach as far as a slow recovery, a long sort of a fast recovery, which we don't believe, slower, and then best case somewhere in the middle. And that's kind of where we're projecting, at least in the short term for the next 6 months. So it's really challenging. I think one good thing for us, there's a lot of good things, but Bloomington is well positioned with our hotels. It's wide open space. They have free parking. So getting that message out, we sit in the doorstep of the wildlife refuge, so we can incorporate that in our messaging. Safety, I mentioned that before, it is huge. I will not lie in that we in Bloomington got a cancellation from a military group because the people were afraid to come what they thought was Minneapolis. And sometimes customers don't exactly know how far Bloomington is. And so having our city and our good police department, Chief Potts came out with a long statement early on about safety and how officers are trained, is just really fabulous for us. And so how does that become a part? This lawlessness that is being experienced by youth is just, is scary. It's scary to a lot of people. So I think that has to get under control. It's not going to be good for business anywhere. So those are a few of our things.
Yeah, no, that we were talking about this earlier. Just that whole general state of uncertainty has kind of created a sense maybe of well, you used the word lawlessness. I would just say kind of a sense of maybe rules don't apply, or we're just in a different state of affairs. I want to stick with you, Bonnie, and then I'll go to Jill on, and I don't want to get in too much in the weeds on this, but you mentioned a little bit about the city of Bloomington and just and government in general. I'm wondering on a policy level if there are things that you're looking for either locally, regionally, statewide, or even federally for hospitality and tourism that are really kind of important or critical. Is there something that is important, from a sustainability piece that you're working on, or you mentioned safety or other factors that might not be aware of that are important on the policy level?
Well, again, our policy in Bloomington, we have I think they're very good to the hospitality industry. I think they're very sensitive to them. I think they always have been. We have, again, Jill mentioned the health department. People say that in Bloomington, our health department is really tough. Well, that's an okay thing. Health department, I think that shines. And so I would look for that to continue. Safety is going to be huge, and keeping our city safe is really good. On a national level, I know American Hotel Association, I'm involved with them, and with U.S. Travel Association, they're looking at these EDA, Economic Development Assistance loans and so forth, and that's moving through Congress. I think that could be accessible to some of these businesses, companies. What I'm not certain of is, you'll get, there's been so much consolidation of brands over the years. When you look at what's under the Marriott brand or what's under the Hilton brand. And so the big brand hotels that sit on this board with us are giving input directly to the administration. And so that is good. And I think those kinds of policies. Outside of that, I mean, we really our city is so well positioned to recover, probably even better than some of our neighboring cities. But again, those key things for me would be um, safety. It's comes up as one of the number one things that people want to look for and look at in going to a destination. And there's just a lot of places that aren't safe today. So I think that's going to be a focus of ours. And we're on to new development with the water park and everything, but I think that's going to be paused for a while. So that would be some of my top ones.
Fair enough. Jill, what are you thinking in terms of the policy world at whatever level? I know you mentioned a little bit about masks. Would that be important on a statewide level, or if it were locality to locality? What are your feelings there?
Yeah, either way. I mean, as far as whether it's a city mandate, which we're seeing pop up in Rochester and Edina and others, or if it's a statewide mandate, different communities have different situations and numbers of cases, but I think consistency is what's important. And I think that's what's been really challenging for consumers. The fact that they hear different messages, whether it's from their local authorities, their state authorities, even from the federal government, that inconsistency has everybody very uncertain and nervous of what they should do and where they should go. I think that consistency would help provide some comfort where we need to go. So I think that whether it's a mask mandate or just other safety protocols, I think that that's really important. I also, it's been a challenge from a relief perspective, as much as we pride ourselves on being different. Being at the intersection of retail and entertainment and hospitality and travel, all these industries that have been hit so hard, and being such a large venue and unique and not fitting into a specific category has made it very difficult for us at a state and a federal level on relief efforts. And there's been a lot of different programs out there, especially for small businesses, and we've definitely passed that along to our tenants and financial support. Unfortunately, a lot of them have been receiving some of the grants and loans that are out there, but for us as an organization, based on the number of employees that we have and the unique stature of who we are, it's been quite a challenge. And we're like every other business. We're going through a lot of hardships right now as our tenants. We have over 175 small businesses within our building. And when they are challenged to get open and to be able to pay their rent, then that makes it a challenge for us to pay our bills. And so it's been a cycle that's been quite a challenge, and it's going to be as we move forward.
Yeah, no doubt. On a different kind of safety note, I mentioned to you I visited the mall after you reopened and was really impressed with the changes that you've made to accommodate this whatever new normal we're calling it. Cleanliness that was very visible, the signage, the distancing, all of that. We had a question, and I was wanted to follow up a little bit about. It is indoor space, but what about the air safety and filtering outside air in, that sort of piece? I know that airlines have been going through well, this is how we filter air, and this is how the air on the plane works. What about air inside the Mall of America?
It's an interesting question, because if you heard the conversation that recently in New York, they were requiring their shopping centers to increase their purification and some of their HVAC systems. And so we also have a sister property in New Jersey. So we've been talking with them quite a bit, because as we work with our technicians and engineers on our HVAC systems at the mall, they're top notch. And as far as because of the spans of space that we have of 5.6 million square feet, we have plenty of air circulation that keeps it a safe environment. Granted, we're learning more and more every day about this pandemic and how it's transferred. And so we want to make sure that we're staying educated on what is needed and to make the proper changes within our building. But at this time, we're very confident in what we have to provide in our environment at MOA.
Great. And I'll go back to Bonnie in a second on this, but the safety security issues and you've always had a great, that's been, like you said, a primary concern. Have you had to make changes on that level since reopening, given just the current state of affairs?
So in addition to safety with regards to health safety, we feel
Right.
very comfortable with where we're at, but I think what you're asking is with regards to just safety and security for our guests and the unrest in the community. And our security team is phenomenal. They're best in the country from a private security team. We do a lot of training, not only with all of our officers, but we also train a lot of outside organizations as well. And we work very closely with the Bloomington Police Department, as everyone knows, and that partnership has been amazing over the years. We've learned together, and we've learned different protocols for training. As you look at what's happening in our community, and even our opening was delayed because of the unrest in the community, and just making sure that we are keeping our property safe and for those that were visiting us. But as we move forward, and typically in the summer months, we do see an uptick of more youth coming in the property and enjoying Mall of America, but we've definitely seen a bit of a shift when it comes to the juvenile activity at the mall and some of the unrest that's transferring over. And I've also talked to a lot of the local shopping centers, and actually that's one of the silver linings with this whole process is we talk on a regular basis, a weekly call with all the local shopping centers to share what everybody's going through. So it's not just a Bloomington challenge, that we're seeing it across the Twin Cities with regards to just youth being out and being a little bit more active in our properties and just around our communities. And it's definitely a challenge, but working together. And I think that's what's important when business works directly with law enforcement and security protocols to figure out solutions to keep our areas safe and to work with the youth and keep getting them on the right path.
Yeah. And Bonnie, have you seen increased security or issues in terms of property damage for the groups that you represent in the Bloomington area?
Not yet, no. And I think that, hotels, when they were so minimally staffed, I know they were closing off their reservation systems during the rioting and so forth on that communities things, because there were people that were coming from out of state that wanted to check into hotels. So a lot of them, at a time when they needed the reservations, actually shut down their systems. So that, because a hotel reservation can be made on multiple channels, and so that they closed them off so that they could, screen a little bit more. That was probably the scariest part. And I know that a couple of hotels had maybe some unruly characters that were being pushed out. But by and large, I think our hotel community works real closely with our Bloomington police. And again, we don't want this to become a problem. I think that nationally, if they're allowed to be this lawlessness kind of group, I think it's the attitude that has changed, that the rules don't apply. I think customers will pick up on that. I mean, we would.
Yeah.
Just everyone's just normal feelings. I don't think we're any different than anyone else. So it's a real important part of. We've always promoted the safety and so forth. So hopefully, this will settle down. It was a horrible incident, but it doesn't make the whole pot bad. You know what I mean? So we have to move beyond that. So
yeah, fair enough. Bonnie, I'm going to stay with you and then I'll go to Jill again. What in terms of, what do you think may, because of the pandemic, what has changed maybe forever in terms of the hospitality and tourism world? What are some opportunities maybe to innovate or something positive that may have come from this? I know in the chamber world, we certainly had to become much better at technology platforms than, and we probably should have been there a while ago. But so there's always opportunities and silver linings, or just a sense of, we have to do some things differently. What do you think in terms of your world on that?
Right. I think technology, first from our organization, for sure, we've spent a lot of years building our platforms to be able to, market to our customers. It's certainly the delivery that most people are familiar with and want to do. There's also a cost savings there. So luckily we had some good basis and foundation for that. And I think that's going to continue to grow. Personally, we hope that the Zoom meeting does not continue long term. Because we believe that still that face-to-face meetings are still the best. And so with that though, we already have seen some of our hotels that had meetings scheduled. The meeting planner wanted to continue and with the meeting, so they actually made it virtual. So like our DoubleTree Hotel, one of our, actually the largest hotel, and for those of you that don't know which one that is, we still refer to it as the old Radisson South over there on 100. But they actually had a group in, and the meeting planner, this was in May, they actually set up their tables and chairs and did this whole, they had speakers that were virtual, and they had a lot of attendees. And we actually went over and filmed it. And so we can now use that to show other customers what's possible. So I think some thinking differently about gatherings in that regard will be in play at least for until we get a vaccine.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. Technology. Last year we implemented a program for our hotels, which is it's a 360-degree tool that we use on our website, where a meeting planner can go in and take a virtual tour and see what the rooms are and so forth. And this will become huge now. We're already seeing it used by meeting planners who won't do site visits, but who will rethink how they're going to do their meetings. And so a lot of that in the short term, there's going to be some opportunities there. And so that's what we're focusing on.
Yeah. Jill, how about you? What's kind of likely to always be changed, or what are some opportunities for the new world?
I don't think we're ever going to go back to how it used to be. So I think it's absolutely critical for all of us to look forward and really plan for a year from now or beyond, knowing that change is inevitable. And when you look at shopping behaviors, and I mentioned that earlier, that we're really focused on looking at how they have changed and what we can offer to accommodate. We know that people still thrive for experiences, and they're, I talked about that pent up demand. People want to get out, they want to have fun, they want to shop, but they're also very cautious. And so we have to find that balance. And, all consumers are truly empowered by digital tools, and technology is critical. And I think this is at a time where we can't get that shiny object syndrome. We can't just chase the next VR type of implementation, but we really need to make sure that what we're offering provides utility and provides convenience to the customer. Curbside is going to be a critical service for all retail to consider. And, we set up curbside quickly when we were able to kind of have that phased opening and be able to offer that to our tenants. But that's something that we're hyper focused on, and be able to consolidate that experience so that you don't have to go through each individual retailer, but we can have more of an overarching umbrella type of program for our customers to come in. So those that are not ready to come inside the building or have that, a hybrid type of approach. You hear omni-channel, but truly it's about how do you start the shopping experience online, but then how do you finish it at the curbside or the doorstep or even in the retail store. So it's really looking at those technologies of how to consolidate that. It's also looking at fulfillment strategies and how we can have delivery and how we can have a universal return area. So it's combining technology with services in a really unique and effective way. And so we're really looking at how we can change that. And it's not easy. We have a lot of tenants within our building, individual retailers having their own plans, but how do we consolidate that in a way that makes it meaningful for the customer, but also allows us to deliver experience? Because that's what we have prided ourselves on for so long at Mall of America. and to not be able to deliver an experience where it's in person and really special and memorable is what we have to reinvent. So that's really what we're focused on. But I'd say two other key areas, in addition to innovation, is collaboration. And I mentioned a little bit about the collaboration with other shopping centers within the marketplace, but also nationally. It's been really important for us to connect with other landlords, developers, and mall owners to really understand what they're going through in their respective geographic areas, and how the reopening and closings and how that's impacting them and what they're learning. They're gone as day of best practices, because we're all learning together in this next normal and what we can share with each other. But as we try new things, but as an industry, we're joining forces in how we can roll out things for consumers in this new way of shopping and entertainment. So the collaboration, not only from a retail perspective, but also entertainment. We talked with entertainment owners and operators across the country and understanding how they're reopening and what they've learned. Merlin Entertainment has been extremely beneficial for us, having Sea Life at the mall, but them having locations across the world and understanding what they've learned and what works. And so we take those learnings and then apply them to what we can do here in Minnesota and at Mall of America. And I'd say the third bucket is community. I mean, you talk about the community unrest, but with that, there's so much more that can be done to support the community and to learn and to listen and to talk with those community leaders. And not only with those pockets of neighborhoods within Minneapolis and St. Paul that have been impacted. We have a lot of conversations going on right now of how we can help and make a change. And a lot of that stems from the core elements of education and helping the youth be able to have opportunities in life. But it's also just community in general. And when you look at, we were able to stand up blood drives when we were closed during the pandemic needs for donating blood. But it's working with what our other organizations and being able to leverage our property and our space to be able to make a difference, to support the community effort. It's always been part of our DNA and really important for our success to support the community in any way that we can, and we'll continue to do that as we move forward.
Well, and I can verify and testify you've always been deeply committed to the community service. I think a lot of people maybe don't realize that kind of broad regional and local connection to so many different people that runs through the Mall of America. I mean, a lot of youth and their first jobs. You mentioned the number of small business employers that are housed within the mall. It's just such a great ecosystem and critical, really, in so many ways. And at basis of what you're talking about is that the standards about customer service and relationship building will always be fundamental, even though some of maybe the platforms or the technology might shift a little bit. I guess I'd like to kind of finish on the question about just what can we do, whether individual consumers or in particular the business community in Bloomington and the metro, as far as being supportive and helping, and what would you ask of us? Jill, I'll start with you and then go to Bonnie to close.
Come visit us, come shop, come play. Trust in the fact that, we have a very safe environment, but granted, knowing that this, with COVID being in our community, no matter where we are, we're all at risk at what we're going to be exposed to, but we just need to be smart and responsible, to be able to be in environments and support local businesses, support our communities. It's key. And I think, going back to leaders within organizations and within the government, it's about that consistency with messaging and supporting customers and having a message that encourages what is safe and that we can get out. And we have to learn to live with what we're dealing with right now. And that's different for everybody. And I greatly respect individuals that have higher risk levels and what they need to do. But I have a family with kids and we're going stir crazy. And so we're trying to find, where we can live, but yet be safe, to be able to spend that time that we need to keep our mental health, safety as well. So it's just for all of us to find how we can live in this world that we are in today.
Yeah, we're definitely social beings. We can't stay locked in our houses, our rooms, our offices, whatever, forever. We have to figure out a way to interact and build on those things. So. Bonnie, what do you have for kind of the consumer and the business community in general?
Well, first of all, stay in a hotel. It may surprise some people, but in Minnesota, depending on times of the year, as much as 40% of business in hotels could be from within the state. And people want to, put your friends and family into hotels. So first, of course, we want to do that. Business, I think, another big part of our mix for business is the actual business traveler. And it's going to be interesting to see how that develops as companies will put their people on the road. I believe they will eventually, maybe not in the short term, but I think the value of calling on customers and so forth, and that's a big segment. So keep going on that. I also, I can't emphasize safety enough. This visual that is played out daily on the news about, like Jill said, emphasizing all the negative. There's so many good things that we could be talking about in our community, clean, safety, and this will put us in a good position to get our businesses back. And I think it's important for every business, whether you're in the mall, outside of the mall. It will be a big factor in people traveling. And so I can't emphasize that enough. Support, go to a restaurant and, you'll find the balance and that consistent messaging. So that's what we would hope for.
And I think to add on, if I can just add on to
please.
Bonnie's final comment, we really can't underestimate what we're going through and the changes. People really need to embrace the fact that we all need to change, and especially if you're in the industry of where Bonnie and I are with hospitality and travel and retail and entertainment. It's a time to truly start from scratch and take a look at where the opportunities are and have an attitude to embrace our new realities.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I can't thank you both enough for sharing your perspectives, your expertise, and thank you for the work that you're doing in our community. It is so essential, and we have recorded this, so there's an opportunity for you, anybody who's been on the call, to pass it along. And I want you to take advantage of the phenomenal resources we have in Bloomington, both at the Mall of America and throughout our hospitality industry. So thank you, Jill. Thank you, Bonnie. I want to reiterate our thanks for our sponsors to make this possible: the Mall of America, Centerpoint Energy, Wells Fargo, and Xcel Energy. And I just close with some opportunities for connecting to some future programming. On the short term, through the Chamber, we have next week a Critical Issues Forum. I guess it's next Wednesday. Boy, that's coming up fast. All about housing affordability, especially amongst the pandemic. The following day, for all you sports fans, with the Metro Chambers, a bunch of us are working to put together, hosting a program with the Vikings and previewing the Vikings Unite the North, I believe is the title, the Viking season preview. So we need our sports too. Just spent a while watching the Last Dance on Michael Jordan and the 90s Bulls, and I'm thinking, and I'm not a big sports guy, but that's a big part of our world also. We will be having some future Chamber Town Talks, probably in the next couple months, one in August, one in September, so look for those. And then our big first kind of get together in person in the fall. We moved the annual Chamber Golf Tournament from June to the first Monday in October. I believe that's October 5th. So any of you golfers out there, it'll be a different kind of golf tournament, but we're looking forward to hosting that as well, the Bloomington Chamber Annual Golf Tournament. So take advantage of those, check out them as you're able. Thank you for taking the opportunity to come on to this program today, and for all your interest in supporting the chamber and the community at large. Thanks. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.